Tom. Defensively, though, the Heat seem to be doing fine. The Pacers have never really gotten their offense on track. Is that the key? Is it maybe that they can get out more in transition as a way to get a few extra points?
Yeah, I think what they're going to have to do, they're keeping the Indiana Pacers down to like a 40% or 35% shooting in the series. So that's not the problem. The issue, they need to create some more turnovers. The Pacers aren't especially a high turnover team, and they've been pretty safe with the ball. So the real big question is, can LeBron James off those defensive rebounds, Dwayne Wade off of defensive rebounds, can they grab it and go? Because oftentimes that's their best fast break opportunity, is to pull a 7 seconds or less and just fly down the court. So they're going to have to do that, clean up the glass and go. But the problem is that the Pacers are a great offensive rebounding team, so that makes it a big issue for Roy Hibbert. If they're going to gobble up those rebounds underneath, how are they going to get out in the open floor? So defensively, the Heat are fine. They haven't looked so bad offensively in Game 2. They haven't looked that bad all season, and it's a big problem with Chris Bosh, who everyone wants to call soft and isn't, a big tough guy. He's a raptor, he's a dinosaur, whatever they want to call him. The fact of the matter is he's a really, really good dynamic player that demands defenses to collapse onto him and draws defenders so that he can kick out and hit Mike Miller and Mario Chalmers for kickouts or on a hockey assist. It doesn't have to come from Bosh, but they need Chris Bosh so badly, and the depth behind the big three are looking painfully thin.
Yeah, and I would say that Chris Bosh looks especially good when the person backing him up can hardly handle the ball at all. This is a question that's kind of on a lot of people's minds. LeBron being asked to do so much, possibly more than really like any great player, as much as any great player ever, because he's guarding the big guys, the small guys, and obviously offensively he's still carrying the burden. I assume that Petey Has No Head is his real name, and he wonders, is LeBron playing his minutes at power forward and not sitting in the second half, something that the not sitting really wore him down, seemed to in last year's playoffs, the Heat's best option? Tom, what do you think?
Well, I wrote about this the other day, I think it was yesterday, and Eric Spoelstra was he felt like legitimately bad. He was like, man, I just wish I could have gotten him some rest there in the second half. And he looked like he was just going to break down and start crying. Because I honestly think that LeBron has told him behind closed doors, like, I need a rest here. I'm guarding David West on one end of the floor, playing point guard and doing everything on the other end of the floor. I'm getting hacked inside. I have to go against Roy Hibbert and David West on offense. And it's a huge burden on my shoulders. So give me at least a minute or two. But when the Heat were down by 9 points and had an awful third quarter where they let up, I think something like 28 points, is something a lot more than they're used to giving up. The Heat can't afford to have LeBron off the floor. If you guys have noticed, when he goes off the floor, the whole offense goes into a tailspin. For whatever reason, Dwayne Wade and running in the pick and roll just hasn't been working. So the Heat need LeBron James to play power forward and to play the whole second half. And I'm afraid that that's going to cost them long term. If they get past the Pacers, which I'm not sure they are, he's going to be so tired. It's not going to be anything different than last year.
Yeah, Jared, the third quarter has been when the Heat have the Pacers have been great in the third in the playoffs. Or am I mistaken? I believe that's true, that they've had some really nice third quarters against the Magic and then against the Heat as well. What's going on with that lineup then? Is there a combination that seems to work well that they don't play earlier, or is it just sort of happenstance?
I mean, it's weird because it was all throughout the regular season as well. I mean, there was something like 9 points, per 100 net efficiency, better in the third, which was by far their best quarter all year, and it's just translated so well to the playoffs. I mean, I think it's partially because, like I was saying earlier, they kind of drift off course a little bit during a game, and I think going back to the locker room and just getting their head back on straight, and, you know, possibly what Vogel is telling them is helping them out. But it's also just the starting lineup's really good. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't see this in their first quarter either, but both all year with both Darren Collison and George Hill, I mean, their offensive rating was like 109, 112, I think, with George Hill, because they played some, you know, really easy teams once he started starting. But, I mean, I think it's just really good, and they're just overwhelming the Magic especially, and then, you know, it was 28-14, I think, in Game 2 they beat the Heat. Granger got going, and it's hard to explain. I mean, I really can't, but I think it's really just the starting lineup is that much better than, especially the Magic, but as well as the, you know, the Heats now.
Yeah, okay, so one of my favorite playoff quotes of all time is from Steve Nash, and he said, you know, after you win a game in the playoffs, you feel like you're never going to lose again. After you lose a game in the playoffs, you feel like you're never going to win again. Somewhat shocking win for the Pacers last night. Does this change your predictions for the series, and will you give me your pick?
Go ahead, Tom.
I'll go Heat in 7 by a hair. I said today on 3-on-3 on our blog that I think it's a toss-up at this point. So I'll go Heat in 7 just because LeBron and Dwayne are that good, plain and simple.
I think the Pacers are going to win it. I mean, it might be what you're saying, but the Pacers are pretty close to 2-0 here. While I see room for improvement out of the Pacers, I really don't see a ton unless Mike Miller and Shane Battier start hitting a lot of threes. I really don't see Miami doing it, so I'm going to say Pacers in 7.
There you have it. Well, thanks a lot for coming on, guys, and hopefully it'll be a good, long series.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Beckley.